Thank you for joining me in exploring another avenue on the path of the seeker. Today we are going to move up to the next step on Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This step of the pyramid is safety. What is safety? Safety is defined as the condition of being protected from danger, risk, or injury. Protection. Protected from what? The other day I encountered a girl who was wearing a beautiful necklace. I asked what the Celtic knot with a moon symbolized. She told me that it was a pendant of protection and that she felt protected. I kept my questions to myself. First, why did she feel she needed to be protected? Second, what experience in her life caused her to feel vulnerable? Third, what was she being protected from? I think that's the question each of us needs to answer for ourselves. Some believe that an endless amount of laws and regulations will protect people. Others believe that laws and regulations strangle human creativity. At one point, I was terrified of stepping out into the world because I was scared that people would judge me. At my worst, I was so terrified of meeting new people who might judge me harshly, I couldn't bring myself to get out of bed. Some people are terrified of germs. They are afraid germs will make them sick. They would live in a hermetically sealed-off world if they could. The only problem is nothing can grow in a hermetically sealed-off world. It's not a sustainable living environment. We can say that in some parts of the world, people are not safe because if they leave their homes, they might be killed by a bomb or they could be killed by a tiger. Yes, perhaps the percentage of danger is higher in those places. Yet, some people die because the very cells within their own body turn on them. We call this cancer. They don't have to step outside, and no one has to do anything to harm them in order for them to encounter death. You might look at me and think, well, you've never been in an unsafe situation. That's just not true. I can tell you that I know the depths of fear as much as anyone else. I've suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder twice now. I also suffered from panic attacks where I mentally flashed back to the trauma that caused my emotional pain. The second time, I didn't think I was going to be able to recover. The fear was so tangible, so real, and so solid, I didn't think I could overcome it. I couldn't emotionally handle the experience of losing my daughter. I can't tell you how painful it was to hold the hand of a newborn baby, feeling her grip my pinky tightly and know that she was doomed to death because she was premature. My mind simply couldn't process the depth of that emotion. I got stuck in this state where this emotion of fear and horror overwhelmed me like a plugged toilet that was overflowing. I couldn't get the plunger in there because too much water was pouring out forcefully for me to stem the emotional tide. I was afraid I was going to drown in my own sorrow, fear, and horror. I was simply not prepared for the experience on any level of my being. You might be asking what you can do to meet this requirement for safety in order to reach self-actualization. I can't answer this for everyone. Everyone's path is different, but I can tell you what I did. Meditation helped me quiet my thoughts. You are not your thoughts. Meditation is how you can experience this realization firsthand. The more you realize that you are the observer and not the thoughts, the more quiet your mind will become. I already made a video about the meditation technique that I use, and I will leave a link in the description below. Next, you have to realize that everything in the plane of existence that we live in is temporary. This concept is too big for this video. I wrote a blog on the subject and the link is in the description below. The situation that you are in right now is just temporary. Whether good or bad, it's just a temporary state of being. The person who is watching this movie is going to be very different 10 years from now. Nothing in this world is permanent. When you realize that everything in this plane of existence was made to be temporary, it takes a tremendous burden off your shoulders. There's nothing to hold on to anymore, because whether it's the glass you are drinking from, the clothes that you are wearing, or your body, you know it's temporary, and that's how it's meant to be. If you're having a bad day at work, it's just one day. Don't allow it to color your entire existence. Tell yourself this is just one day. This is a temporary experience I will get through, and 5 years from today, I won't even remember this. That's how small this experience really is. It's tiny. This will help you keep things in perspective and in a context that's easy to manage. Understand that emotions are messengers. Emotional states, in particular, are just temporary, and they're messengers that let you know that something is out of alignment with your true nature. I find it's better to revel in the feeling of those emotions, becoming intimate with them, get to know them, and understand them as the messengers that they are, because repressing them in any way will leave you in a state of dis-ease. Once you receive the message, that emotional state will go away. Finally, knowing you're not your physical body is important. This concept is pretty simple. If you have the ability to believe that you are an immortal, eternal soul and not your human body, then the level of fear drops immensely. As long as you identify with your physical body, death will remain a fear and a threat, and you will never be safe. If you think there's only one way for your soul to become immortal, well, that might be limiting in some ways. You will continue to exist in a state of fear that you will never be considered worthy of such a state of being. That's why, for me, reincarnation, or at the very least a belief that you existed in heaven prior to being born in the human body, eases fear the most. After all, Jesus said, "No one has ever ascended from heaven except he who descended from heaven." Some might claim that only privileged people have safety. I disagree with that concept. First and foremost, even the most privileged amongst us is destined to die in this world. As long as you fear death, I don't think you can really ascend this level of the pyramid. That fear of death can consume you and determine your behavior just as much as a starving man is controlled by his hunger. Some people fear death so much and want immortality so badly they create huge monuments to their name. They think through statues that they will live on, so even those who are considered wildly successful in the mortal world have not fulfilled this level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Here is an amazing quote from Abraham Maslow on the concept of safety. One can choose to go back towards safety or forward towards growth. Growth must be chosen again and again. Fear must be overcome again and again. Fear is a great thing to conquer in this world. According to many sources, the reason this world fell, as it's described in the Bible, is because we went into a state of fear. Unless you fear something, you don't believe you need to be protected. The gradual release of fear through the concepts I've shared has enabled me to release the tremendous amount of fear that I had throughout my life and heal from my post-traumatic stress disorder. You may hear a lot about shielding in spiritual communities. This suggests that you have to protect yourself from dark energy and toxic people. Once you realize where the toxicity is coming from, usually from repressed emotions, it's no longer scary. Further, once you realize that you're part of the oneness, that you are part of the one creator and can never be destroyed, what on earth do you need to protect you? Ultimately, when I see someone wearing an amulet of protection, no matter what faith or source it comes from, I see a lack of faith. I do realize that deep inner faith, that knowing, is something that's a bit elusive in our reality. So on that note, that's it for today. I hope this makes you think of this subject a little differently. Hopefully this helps you find some peace. Thank you for watching. It means the world to me, and have a wonderful day.
The way